Hey, everybody. I am here for another episode of KPIs, and I am with Dave Elliott, who is a part of the Mayborn Group. And Dave and I met at Qlik Connect this year as we did a Move to Cloud panel. Dave, thanks so much for joining me this morning.
Good to be here.
Well, I guess this morning my time, this afternoon your time, since you're over the pond. So tell me a little bit about Mayborn and Mayborn Group and what you all do.
So Mayborn Group's a consumer goods manufacturer. We operate in the baby products space, a global organisation based here in the UK, but we've got footprints in North America, and Australia, New Zealand, across Europe, and Asia, manufacturing in China, Morocco, and in the UK. So we've been going for 65 years.
And now, what are some specific things that people would know you for in the Mayborn Group?
I think we're probably more widely known for our brand, the Tommee Tippee brand. So baby bottles, the perfect prep machine, so ready-made bottle, ready-made baby feeds, and a number of other products across the range.
I'm recently out of that phase, but yes, I know the Tommee Tippee brand very well. And at Qlik Connect, not this last year, the year before, you guys had an awesome customer kind of story up there with a ton of bottles on it. It was a really neat feature that kind of made you pause for a minute. So that was really cool. I want you to kind of talk a little bit about why data is so crucial to all that Mayborn does, and then what you're also working to do, and then why did Mayborn choose Qlik as a partner?
So obviously, being a consumer goods organization, there is a core lifeline for us in terms of what's happening in the market, what's happening with consumers, what are consumers interested in, how does the market perform, how do we perform within the market. Data, the volume of data that we've got is huge. We get data from all of our retailers, so electronic point of sale data, manufacturing data, product data, social data, reviews, a whole host of different sources of data that comes in. Really, years ago when we started the journey with Qlik, it was a standout proposition for us in terms of what the associative engine could do and the volume of data that it could process and it could analyze and put into the hands of our end users in a really intuitive, powerful way. So yeah, that was kind of sort of where we started the journey 7 years ago now.
And I'll focus on that a second. You threw out a term that's well known in the Qlik world, the associative engine. That's one of the key reasons about how we at Qlik do data differently. But talk a little bit about, as you kind of explored different tools, why did that piece of it stick out so much to you?
For us, it's about being able to answer the questions that you don't necessarily know that you want to ask. So when you're interrogating the data, the associative engine, rather than filtering your data, it shows you what you're looking for in terms of your selections, but also indicates what else is behind it. And often when you're looking at sort of category performance, or you're looking at the performance of a market, it's not driving the answers based on some assumptions that you might have. It surfaces everything up. So when you do have assumptions, if they're wrong, you've got a way of being able to see that they're wrong. Therefore, you can change direction and start to ask different questions in order to really sort of delve into the data and really explore the data. I think that's the key standout really for me, is the fact that it drives data exploration, not just necessarily data discovery.
Yeah, and I like that you said that too. Like, you make assumptions. Everybody does. As much as we'd like to say we're completely data-driven, there are just assumptions that happen. But I love that you just said it kind of challenges those assumptions to go deeper, to be like, is this an assumption that's worth following, or is it completely wrong and there's no data there and it's missing? That's a really key part. One of the other things that we talked about at Qlik Connect was longtime Qlik on-prem customer, but decided to move to Qlik Cloud Analytics. What were the reasons behind that shift to move from on-prem to our cloud version?
The core reason for us to even consider it was our end users. We wanted to drive more engagement. We wanted to drive more self-serve, more interaction with the data. And we could very clearly see that all the features that were coming into Qlik Cloud really helped to elevate that. Whereas, as you would expect, an on-prem deployment development doesn't come along quite as quickly as a cloud platform does. We felt we were holding the users back a little bit. So we actually adopted a hybrid approach of a quick turnaround in terms of getting those features out to the end users. So we develop on cloud, We publish the reloaded apps into cloud, which means our end users can get hold of all the new features as and when they arrive without the need for waiting for us to re-architect the data layer in the back end. So we can deal with those challenges, but we can do it in a way that doesn't impact the end users and their experiences.
The team at Mayborn built really a special space in the cloud tenant to help with adoption, because we've said this before, adoption is the measure of success. You can have a bright, shiny new thing, but if nobody's using it, all you have is just a bucket of money sitting somewhere that is just being wasted. Mayborn built a special space in the cloud tenant to help with adoption. Share more about what you did to kind of help with that.
We did. So when we first started moving people over to cloud, and we did this kind of sort of business unit by business unit and region by region, we did enablement sessions where we would sit down with a group of users in a room or on a remote session, and we'd take them through what cloud looked like. So we talk through all the new features. We'd show them how to create alerts, how to create subscriptions, and how to manage their hub. And we do that over about an hour and a half session. Now that's great. Everybody goes away excited, wanting to use all the new features, and then the day job comes back to life. So they don't necessarily get in to be able to use it on a frequent basis. So what we did was we created a suite of apps, suite of Qlik apps in a space that basically were static apps that showed how to, in bite-sized chunks, how to use the features in the platform. So we had an app that was all about navigating the hub. We had an app that was all about creating and managing your alerts or your subscriptions. I think there's a suite of about 9 or 10 apps in there now. That just means that when users want to kind of sort of do something they can't quite remember, then they can do a quick search in the hub, find the apps that they need, the guides that they need. They can follow 5 or 6 sheets, nice, clean narrative of what to do, some videos, some GIFs of kind of sort of showing them the actual movements of doing it, and then they're on the way. And we extended that more recently with actually creating a catalogue of all of our analytics apps in there as well. So if somebody now wants to look at electronic point of sale data, or they want to look at review data, there's an app there that they can search through, and it'll describe what space it's in, what the app is, who the owner of the app is, what the data is. So it just means that they've got a self-serve portal in there that actually helps guide them, not just use the apps, but find the apps as well.
Everybody wants the idea of self-service, but I think a lot of times people think, oh, well, if I buy the right tool, self-service will just happen. What you just kind of walk through is like, you have to prepare people to be able to use self-service, to be able to do these things, right? You can have people that have never cooked before. You can give them a knife, an onion, some chicken, and the pots and pans to do it. But if they have no clue what they're doing without kind of some initial step-by-step process, here's how you hold a knife, here's how you cut an onion without losing a finger, all of those different things, it's just going to sit there and it's useless. I love that idea of self-service. How have you seen kind of adoption grow with the new features that are built into cloud and this kind of process you've built around helping people self-serve?
We've certainly seen some of the key features that we expected would get used more and more, the likes of subscriptions, the like of alerts. We've seen them grow quite a bit. We've seen a reasonable increase in the use of apps as a whole because people are becoming more familiar with what's there. It's a little bit easier to find what's there now in cloud than it was on client managed. So I think it's just been an organic growth, I think, in terms of users and the features that they use and the way that they're interacting with the apps and the platforms. I think one of the key things that it has also driven is conversation about what else can we do. So it's not just about necessarily adoption of the features and that in the platform. It's more about what more can we do with data. I think that has really helped to drive, from a business perspective, a much deeper conversation in terms of what data have we got, what else can we do with it, and that starts to drive us into looking at more of the features and more of the technologies within the Qlik stack, like Qlik Predict, or what can we do with that? How can we bring that together? How can we start to leverage things like application automation to help not just support the analysis side of our data, but some of that automation, some of that manual processing that goes on. And we're now starting to talk to users about the use of flow and how can we actually put sort of things like that into the hands of our users, where traditionally they'll have been exporting some data, putting it into Excel to do some of the ad hoc. Well, now we can start talking about flow and how can we actually leverage that for standard users to be able to do no code data manipulation to help support and augment not only the apps that we've got, but start to drive people through from a business function perspective into true self-serve.
Dave, what does the next 6 months look like? What are you focused on at Mayborn with Qlik, and how that moves all of your data?
We're now starting to look at what does development in cloud look like. So we're actually starting to look at what does our underlying architecture look like in terms of true cloud. So moving our on-premise data, or lakehouse, if you like, up into cloud as a data team, so we can start to leverage some of the additional features that we've got available in cloud to support some more of the orchestration of the data pipelines, but also some of the automations as well. Because ultimately, what we want to do is we want to be more efficient as a data team. That means that we can actually focus more on the business value rather than the operational side of things, so we can support more value and more objective meeting and support for the business.
What's Mayborn's stance been on AI and how they're using AI with data? How are you guys starting to bring that together? What are you starting to look at?
So AI obviously is a big thing for everybody, and I don't think you can go through a day without having a conversation about it. For us, it's about learn quick, learn fast, fail fast if we have to get an understanding of what can we do. So Qlik Predict, that's helping us to look at forecasting. How can we better optimize and how can we improve our forecast accuracy using all the data that we've got at hand? That's step one. But beyond that, it's looking at how can we leverage AI, how can we leverage generative AI to support all of our operational functions. Certainly as a data team, we leverage it to help us develop, being able to troubleshoot some Qlik script really quickly, leveraging AI tools is great. It helps massively. So I think it's a core focus, but I think with the excitement, with the buzz, with the drive to utilize it more, you've got to have a little level of caution in there as well, because we have to be considering the ethics around consumer data. How do we leverage that? How do we protect it? How do we put guardrails in place? So it's certainly try hard, try fast, fail and learn from it, but with that level of caution as well.
What are you guys doing to look at and assess where the data quality is at? How do we make sure all of that's in a good spot?
Absolutely. I mean, we're starting very much at sort of the basics with looking at our data across systems, looking at the consistency and the quality across systems to get an understanding of what the problem, what the challenge is, what's the scale of it. And then alongside that, in parallel, as we start to look at that cloud migration, then it's looking at what platforms and what tools are out there that can help support that. Certainly, we're starting to look at the opportunities and the potential of things like Qlik Talent Cloud to integrate into what we've got already. We're starting to look at the use of glossaries, because it's a very simplistic approach. Then getting an understanding of what terminology is in the business, what does it mean in line with the data and the analytics that's been surfaced up, starts to help drive that quality, because in a lot of cases, lack of quality is quite often due to a lack of understanding of the data. So if we can surface that up in the first instance, then that's a big step for us. So I think it's a big step for anybody.
Dave, thanks so much for being a part of a KPIs podcast, kind of sharing where your head's at, where Mayborn's at, where you're going. It's great to kind of see that process. And I think it aligns with so many different customers that I'm talking at. Like, everybody's kind of in that phase, stepping carefully, but sees the power of data. So Dave, thank you so much for joining me today.
Absolute pleasure as always. Thank you.